is when the weather gets nice, go outside and do tie-dyeing. One time some lady said, nobody ever has Max socks on, let's just tie-dye them all. So we did that. But after a couple of weeks, nobody wanted to wear the socks again. So, you know, that's not such a great idea. But sun painting really is a good idea. So get some leaves, some nature things. These are old t-shirts that were getting worn out. And this one actually had a pretty bad stain right where this decoration is. And do the sun painting. It's a very easy thing to do. They put down the leaf or the fern that they have, and then they just put the colors on top of it. What you need to do is make sure that you have plenty of plastic underneath here so that it doesn't go all the way through, because you want your back to be clear. This one obviously got a little bit of stuff on the back, so now we have another decoration on the back. But you want to make sure that you put plastic behind it. I like to do the painting stuff outside simply because it's so much easier to clean up. This was a project that maybe took us 20 minutes and another 20 minutes of cleanup time. But we came out with about 15 shirts in 2 different sessions, so it was kind of a fun thing to do. The other thing that I would encourage you to do is just go ahead and do some of the painting projects outside because it's easier. And if you go to the adaptive equipment, encourage people first before they start the painting project to look at original artwork so that they realize that they do not have to color within the lines and that things do not always look realistic. And let me pull up one that has a little bit more brighter colors. So here's a Monet painting and the colors are blurred and it looks fine. And here's another Monet painting. And you don't paint within the lines, and it becomes very expressive. Because there are no right or wrong answers in art, and it's a lot of fun to do. So some of the things that we would do is just the printing. This is just colors that we dapped on. And then we talked to each other, and we said, well, that looks like the Hawaiian Express. And I said, how can that look like the Hawaiian Express? And then they pointed out, well, here's a flower right here, and here's another flower, and here's a big flower right here. I can see it. Why can't you see that? You know, I can't just see that. That's the Hawaiian. So I started to color in with black magic marker what they told me, and it became collaborative art, and we call this Hawaiian Express. It's just, paint thrown on the thing. We just talk to each other. People see different things in artwork, so just let them express themselves because that's what our empowerment groups are supposed to be doing. Very quickly, I'll show you one of the paint. Well, I'm going to show you, okay, very quickly. To make art unintimidating for people, what I do is I will take a picture that they like. So this is a calendar picture that they like. And what we will do is I'll put it down on a white sheet of paper. So that's down there. Then I take a clear piece of plastic and I put that on top of this picture. So I have clear plastic down here. And it's like this. It's just a flimsy little, acetates are like plastic. And I put that down. Then I get the non-toxic oil paints and I tell them to go ahead and paint their picture in. So what they're doing now is they're painting what we have here. They're painting right on top of this, on top of their plastic. Then I take a clean sheet of paper and I tell them to put it on top of what they painted. Oh, you're smearing my picture. I said, well, no, we're going to make a print. And so we very gently roll the rolling pin over it, and then when you lift it up, they have a picture of what they made. So here was their original, and this is what they painted. Now, what takes this a little bit farther up, a step up above refrigerator art, is when you go ahead and spend a little bit of money, and now you frame it. And now I can put it in the art gallery. And that's what I will do with these paintings. So I'll show you a few more. Oh, I didn't have that even here. So maybe I can do it. There we go. Put that back up here for you. So we've done several of these, and it's a fun project because nothing ever really comes out wrong. And so let me see which ones I have in here. Let me see if I got aside for a minute, I'll show you that one in a second. Now here's another one that we did with the printing. And this is flowers that a lady had painted. But again, it'll come, even though what they printed on their plastic gets pretty messy, what actually comes out turns out to be pretty nice. Oh, let me show you this one here. Just to give you some reassurance. So, this is what her painting on the plastic looked like. By the time we put a clean sheet of paper on top of it, put the clean sheet of paper on top of it, and printed it, this is what it came out to look like. It's a lot lighter, but it's cute looking.
Mm-hmm.
She had this in her room for years. So it's kind of, it's a safe way to do art because they're going to come out with something respectable or what they consider realistically respectable. And that's kind of important. But it's a fun thing to do outside because you won't get mad. With that project again though, you have to use oil paint. So get the non-toxic oil paint. And you can get that at Joann Fabrics in the back of the painting section. They have non-toxic oil paints. And the tubes are about that big, so you can do several pieces of artwork. You have to put the lids back on tight so they don't dry out because you can't reverb. You can put a little bit of oil in to get them going again, but it's much easier to keep them nice. So that's one project. Then another time, I just said, okay, well, let's just do some fun things. So we took our our markers for our bingo game, and we just dabbed all over this piece of board. And then somebody said, well, why don't we cut these flowers out and put it on? So in the meantime, it's hanging out there like this. And then the other person says to me, well, that looks stupid. They're just hanging in the air, floating like bubbles. That's not right. Put some ground underneath them. And they pulled out this piece of fabric and said that needs to be on there. So again, a collaborative group got people to talk to each other, got people to talk to things besides their medical problems, and they had a great time together. So let me just put that in front here. And I can tell you right now from the back of this, 3 different people worked on this project. Here's another one. And this gentleman, his name was Jimmy. And Jimmy was a retired principal. And he liked doing anything. He would come down to all my groups. It was just great. And so he came down and he painted these. He looked at a picture of flowers, tulips, and he painted that. And so that's what he came out with, and we put it up in the art show. And then about 2 weeks later, he is reading through National Geographic. And he cuts this out. And he said, wouldn't that look great on my painting? And so that's what we did. We put it right in the center of his painting. And we rehung it up, and that's what we hung up. So you never know. This is why it's so important to have person-centered activities, and it's very important to have self-empowering groups, because this is a way that they would express themselves. Would they think in the morning, oh, I'm going to get up and I'm going to make a painting and this is going to happen? No. It becomes a wonderful surprise. It becomes a delight of how enriching we can make their lives. Or they can make their own lives just because they're allowed to use their own self-expression. I think that's just about all that I'm going to show you on this tape for the crafts that we've done. But I will let my audience right here know something that I want them to know about, and that is we often end up playing bingo till we are sick of bingo, right? So let me put this aside for a minute. And here are some options to avoid the bingo game. My people could not do, I think the game is called Pocono, where you match a run of a kind or 4 of a kind. And very often I would get decks of cards given back to me that were incomplete. So I took the broken deck of cards and I made enlarged. Again, this becomes an adaptive equipment because it is enlarged. And what I did was I put the cards down and I made sure that each card had a run in it and 4 of a kind. And what I would do is to make sure that everybody could see, to make sure that everybody could see, I bought a large deck of cards. And I would stand up there, instead of calling bingo numbers, I would say, 6 of spades. Who has a 6 of spades? And then they would cover it up on their card. And what they would do then, as I would call this out, if they got 4 in a corner, I'd give them a quarter. If they got a line across in any direction, they'd get a dime. And when they got their 4 of a kind or their run, they get a quarter. When they covered up their whole card and filled up their whole card, I'd give them another dime. So in one game, they made a heck of a lot more money playing this than they would playing bingo. And this became a very popular game for us to do. And we would do it on a Sunday afternoon because it's a very easy game for a volunteer to call or a family member who's sitting there or who's come to visit say, okay, let's play Pocono. And so it made it very, very easy for them to do. It became really fun. But again, you have to have the large deck of cards so everybody can see it. And you have to make the boards and make sure that you put these symbols on the top so that you say hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades. Okay? That became a very popular game. And another game that I used to divert people from always wanting to play bingo, because I'm quite sure that bingo is addictive. A game that I call Roll 'em Up. Now this is a really simple game to do, and again, this is off of my computer in large things, and I have it laminated. And what I would do is I would give everybody their chips, and we would roll the dice. And I would roll the dice into a box that had a felt bottom on it that I made, because you get really tired of picking up the dice that roll off the floor. And they can't catch it fast, and you don't want to be always down there on the floor looking for it. So roll it into a box, and they would roll the dice, and then if they got like a 5 and a 2, that equals 7. I would say to them, you can cover up any combination that equals 7. So they could cover up the 7, they could cover up the 3 and the 4, 5 and the 2, and the 1 and the 6, whatever equals 7. And the first person who got the outside corners would get a dime. The first person who got 1 in a row in any direction would get another dime. And the first person who covered up their entire card would get the quarter. So here again, they could make more money on it. The game